Some of the most frequently asked questions that I get asked are, what are the best cars for Turo? How do I find the best deals? And how do I know whether or not a car is a good deal? And while I have discussed this many different times on this channel, the framework to finding a good Turo car can really be chalked up to a few things, including looking at Facebook Marketplace every single day. Only search for specific types of cars, that way you're narrowing your search and you're not casting too broad of a net. Jump on deals the moment that you find them, and negotiate first so that you're not wasting a ton of your time during this process. And to really prove that my strategy of buying reliable, below market value deals in cash really works, I want to take this video to break down some of my best deals of 2023. I'm going to be talking about what these deals are, why they were such great deals, why I bought them, and some of the different tips and tricks that you can use in order to make these same types of purchases yourself. But before we dive in, I do want to let you guys know of something extremely important going on right now. Many of you know that I've been a Turo host for over 6 years, and I currently have 27 cars in my fleet that generate me between $25,000 and $30,000 in semi-passive income every single month. And if you would like to do the same, then you're in luck, because I have taken my systems, processes, and everything that I know, and I've squeezed it into over 7 hours of course content and put it into my course, the Car Sharing Masterclass. If you're watching this video between November 9th and November 30th, then take action now and use the code BLACKFRIDAY200 to get $200 off the purchase of the Car Sharing Masterclass. This is the biggest sale we'll ever run, and once it's over, it won't be back until next year, November 2024. In the Car Sharing Masterclass, I'll show you everything that you need to know about starting your own Turo side hustle. Everything from LLCs, how to work with insurance and Turo protection packages, what type of cars you should buy, where to find below market value deals on cars, how to set up automated communication methods, and even what to do in the case that your car is in an accident or it's damaged, as well as everything in between. Click the link down in the description below to start making some semi-passive income today. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the cheapest car that I purchased this year. You see, I buy a lot of cars for $5,000, but I don't buy that many cars that are below $5,000. And only about once a year or so am I able to find a car worth purchasing that is below that $5,000 price point. In fact, prior to the purchase that I'm about to talk about, it had been over a year since I was able to find a good car for below $5,000. But this car that I want to talk about is one that you can absolutely find in your own market, and that is a 2011 Mazda 3, which I purchased for $4,700. This car was cosmetically and mechanically very good. It did, of course, have some wear and tear, which most 12-year-old vehicles will have, but all things considered, it was extremely good. Prior to this purchase, we already had a 2013 Mazda 3 in our fleet that we've had for quite a while, so we knew that we liked Mazda 3s, and we also knew that this car would do extremely well on Turo. This car was listed for $5,500 on Facebook Marketplace, and we did our standard back and forth through Facebook chat. We were able to get the seller down to $5,000, at which point we would have been happy paying that price, so we decided to go look at the car in person. And after the test drive, we tried to negotiate a little bit more, and we were able to get that purchase price down to $4,700. We went to the dealership, we test drove the car, and we liked it. And while the car was surprisingly dirty, which is actually very common with very small dealerships, we knew that we wanted to purchase this car. Now, whenever I talk about market value, I typically will do this based off of what Kelley Blue Book deems a fair market value car for good condition. So this is like the average price. Sometimes if a car is in exceptional condition, I'll do something more than good, but good is typically the average that I use. But one thing to keep in mind is that whenever your car is totaled on Turo, Turo actually doesn't use the average fair market value for your car. They instead will use something on the higher end of the spectrum. For example, under the excellent category, they may go on the higher end of that value. So in the case of this 2011 Mazda 3, the fair market value for this car is about $5,400. So we are able to buy this car for about $700 below fair market value price. But because of the fact that the higher end of that spectrum is actually closer to $6,000, that means that if this Mazda 3 were to be totaled on Turo, Turo would probably pay us out closer to that $6,000 mark, which means that in actuality, we're actually about $1,300 below market value. This means that whenever it comes to this 2011 Mazda 3, we have an excellent safety net that we can utilize if we need to. Currently, this car is listed for anywhere between $34 and $36 per day on Turo. It's been listed for a couple of months, and it's averaging about $900 in profit, which means that we will have made back our entire purchase price of this vehicle by the end of the year, which is really excellent. This Mazda 3 is a perfect example of the quality of car that you can get for under $5,000 if you're really patient and if you really jump on deals whenever you find them. And while it did need some minor work and a deep cleaning, it was basically ready to go shortly after we purchased it. Another car that I want to talk about, which is probably one of my favorite purchases in recent years, is our 2013 Mercedes-Benz C250 that we actually just recently bought. Now, as I'm recording this video, this car has not not been listed yet on Turo, but by the time this video gets published, it probably would have, so we don't really have a ton of data on how this car is performing, but I have no doubt that this car will make anywhere between $1,100 and $1,300 per month on Turo. Now, this car was a bit more unconventional than our standard cars that we buy. Number one, because it is a Mercedes, and number two, because we bought it knowing that it had some repairs that it needed before it'd be ready for the Turo platform. The majority of our cars are economical cheap cars, but we did add a 2009 Mercedes-Benz into our fleet back in 2021. This has turned into our top performer in our fleet year after year. And ever since we added that 2009 Mercedes, I've been itching to add another. The problem is it's extremely difficult to find good Mercedes that are worth buying for a reasonable price. Until now, and we were able to find this 2013 C250 that was listed for $7,000. Now, in the case of this Mercedes, we actually didn't do any negotiating over Facebook Messenger because this was a textbook example of a really solid deal, and we wanted to make sure to jump on this before anybody else could. For context, in our market, it's extremely hard to find clean Mercedes with a clean title for less than $10,000, so finding one for well below that was an extremely good find. So in this case, I messaged the seller. I said, hey, we are interested. Can we come check out the car now? He said yes, and then we headed down to downtown Dallas to go check it out. Now, the car exterior was extremely clean, but the car did have some issues. The windshield needed to be replaced. The interior buttons were extremely worn, and something needed to be done with them. The driver's side seat was also worn, and the seat cover would at least need to be replaced. And the biggest issue was that the car had a misfiring problem. Being as though this car has a market value of about $8,550 and on the high end can actually be closer to $10,000, we knew that even if we bought this car for $7,000, we could address the issues and still be below market value. We estimated that the windshield would cost $300, the seat would be about $200, and the buttons would be about $100, and the misfire could cost as much as $600 to fix, which all in would still be below market value buy. So we bought the car for $7,000, and upon conducting the repairs, we actually found out that the misfire was due to a missing bolt. Long story short, there was a missing bolt that was causing a component to vibrate and move when driving, letting air in, which was causing the misfire. So HP replaced the bolt for only 10 cents. We test drove the car for a couple of weeks while we waited for the other parts to come in, and the issue has been completely addressed, fixing the misfire problem. This is a perfect example of a car that does need some work, but as long as you know what you're getting into and you have some background knowledge on cars, you can make an educated risk and an educated purchase with these types of fixer-uppers. We knew that even in a worst case scenario, we would come out ahead with this purchase, or at the very least break even. But because of the fact that we kind of lucked out on the misfiring problem, we were able to go all in on this car, not only purchase price, but also all of the repairs for only $7,600, which is about $2,100 below market value. And the thing is, this was a win-win for both us and the seller, because the seller knew that this car had issues, but he just simply didn't want to deal with it. And these types of buyers are all over. Buyers that are selling cars that may have minor problems, but they don't want to deal with it or they can't afford to deal with it, and that's where you can step in, offer a great price, and get the car fixed and listed on Turo ASAP. The point of this car is that don't be scared to take on vehicles that may need a little bit of work. We've purchased a number of cars over the years that needed repairs, and as long as you know what you're getting into, this can be an excellent investment. The last car that I want to talk about is one that I actually purchased a couple of weeks ago, and this is probably one of my favorite Turo purchases ever. This car is ready to go, it needs nothing, and it is in incredible condition. And this car was an incredible price. This vehicle has a fair market value price of around $9,500 and can even be closer to that $11,000 mark on the high end. And we bought this car for $5,300, and it's a 2011 Volvo S40. This car is in incredible condition. It needs nothing, drives extremely well, and is one of the only examples of a near perfect car that we've ever bought. And to be able to buy a near perfect vehicle at such a below market value price, it was a gem of a find. We bought this car on a Saturday, and this day HP and I actually had plans to go look at a different car, but last minute we decided that we didn't want to because it wasn't that good of a deal and it was a bit too far. So while we were sitting on the couch, we had a few hours to kill until we had to go do something else for the day, and we decided that that would be a perfect time to look for a car, and we were able to find one that was just a couple minutes away from where we lived. And that's whenever we found this Volvo. It was listed for $5,800. I offered $5,500 cash over Facebook Messenger, and he said yes. And because of the fact that this car was so close to us, it worked out perfectly. We met the guy, we drove the car, and we offered $5,300 and he accepted. Now, I think a lot of times people underestimate the power of finding a car, offering cash, and telling the buyer that you can come right now to pick it up. I'm currently selling 2 cars. This is a topic that I'll discuss in another video, but the point is that I have these 2 cars listed on Facebook Marketplace, and I cannot tell you how often people say, hey, can I come look at it later? Can I come look at it tomorrow? Can I look at it later in the week, this weekend? You end up working to coordinate when they can come, and they never follow up, and then they end up ghosting you. It happens all of the time. So one of the best ways to take advantage of a really great deal is to tell a seller, hey, I'll come right now with cash. This was also a small dealership, and by small, I mean it was a guy with a dealership license operating a dealership out of his apartment, and our understanding was that this was a repossession that he got for extremely cheap, which is why we were able to get such a cheap deal on the vehicle. The point of this video is to really drive home the fact that even in this car market, good below market value deals on solid, reliable, high quality cars, they do exist. You can find cheap cars in any market, anywhere in the country. I purchased 8 cars this year, all of them below market value, but these 3 deals I've discussed in this video really stand out as incredible purchases. And I credit finding these deals to my core values when it comes to finding cars to buy. Being educated on what a good deal actually is, patience, timing, and looking for a car on Facebook every single day, multiple times per day, and using cash and the ability to come right now as a tool to get the best deals as possible. But there you guys have it. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.